At 10:17 a.m. on a cold December morning, a mother of three kissed her children goodbye. She told the oldest, he was 9, that she'd be back before dinner. She told the middle one to stop fighting with his brother. She told the youngest, a girl not yet 4 years old, that she loved her. Then she got in her car, and she never came home. Her name, for the purposes of this story, is Donna Marsh. That's not her real name, but everything else, the cold, the children, with a car in the driveway, the 24 years of silence, all of it is real. For 2 decades, Donna Marsh was presumed dead. Her family held a memorial. Her children grew up at holidays with an empty chair they never removed. A local detective kept her case file on top of his desk, not in a drawer on top, every single day until he retired. He told a reporter once, "I just couldn't put her away." Last month, after a tip that came from somewhere no one expected, law enforcement made a phone call, and Donna Marsh answered it. Tonight, I want to walk through this case, not just what happened, but what it means. Because after spending weeks with this story, I still don't have clean answers. And I think that's the point. The question everyone asks when a person goes missing is, what happened to her? But that assumes something happened to her. Tonight, we're asking a different question. What if the person you've been searching for doesn't want to be found? The last normal day, December 14th, 11 days before Christmas, in the small southern town of Callaway, population just under 8,000. The holiday season had its own particular rhythm. Storefronts along Main Street had their lights up. The elementary school was rehearsing for the winter pageant. The air smelled like wood smoke and cold pavement. It was, by every account, an ordinary Tuesday. Donna Marsh was 34 years old, brown hair, medium height, the kind of woman people described as reliable. Her neighbors knew her as the one who always waved from the driveway. Her kids' teachers knew her as the one who showed up early for conferences. Her co-workers at the insurance office, where she'd worked for 6 years, knew her as the one who remembered everyone's birthdays. She was not the kind of person who disappeared. That morning, she made her children breakfast. So scrambled eggs for the boys, toast with strawberry jam for her daughter Claire. She signed a permission slip for a field trip. She reminded her oldest, Marcus, 9 years old, about his piano lesson on Thursday. She was wearing a red fleece jacket, dark jeans, white sneakers that her neighbor would later describe to police as looking brand new. She told her husband, Ray, that she was going to drive over to the mall in Henderson, the next town over, about 20 minutes away, to finish up some Christmas shopping. She had a short list: toys for Claire, a book for Marcus, a video game for her middle son, Derek. She left at 10:17 a.m. She never made it to the mall. Her car, a green 1999 Honda Accord, was found 3 days later parked on a residential street in Henderson, 11 blocks from the mall entrance. Engine off, doors unlocked. Her purse was inside, her wallet, her keys, her Christmas list. Tucked into the front pocket, a torn piece of notebook paper with 3 items written in blue pen. She had not bought a single thing. There was no sign of struggle, no blood, no broken glass. The car looked like someone had parked it deliberately, carefully between 2 other vehicles, and then simply walked away. Which is, of course, exactly what someone who didn't want to be found would do. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In those first hours, no one was thinking about choice. No one was thinking about agency. They were thinking about danger. By nightfall, her family knew something was very wrong. The search that never ended. The search began the next morning. Volunteers assembled in the parking lot of Callaway First Baptist at 7 a.m. 63 people on the first day. By the end of the week, more than 200 names. They walked the fields outside Henderson. They searched the creek bed off Route 12. They put flyers on telephone poles, hung in laundromat windows taped to the front doors of convenience stores in 4 surrounding counties. Donna Marsh's face was everywhere. Her husband Ray made a public plea, standing in front of a bank of microphones at the county sheriff's office. Voice steady, eyes red. He said he just wanted his wife home for Christmas. He looked like a man in pain. He looked, to almost everyone watching, like a husband who had no idea what had happened to his wife. Almost everyone. Because in any disappearance, and I want to be careful here, because this is where cases get contaminated, investigators look at the people closest first. That's not bias. That's statistics. And Ray Marsh had some things that made investigators pause. Not evidence, not proof, just inconsistencies. He told police he'd been home all morning, but a neighbor 2 doors down told investigators he didn't see Ray's truck in the driveway when he would have expected to. He couldn't give an exact time. He said it was before lunch sometime. Ray also had a co-worker who told investigators, months before the disappearance, that Ray had confided in her about problems in his marriage. Ray said she'd misunderstood. She maintained she hadn't. None of it added up to anything. It rarely does in the early days. It's just noise, but it lives in a case forever. While investigators chased inconsistencies, Donna's children waited. Marcus stopped practicing piano. Derek, 7 years old, told his teacher his mom was coming back. She just needed to find something first. Claire asked for her mother at bedtime every night for months. Christmas came and went. They left the chair. New Year's, then her birthday in February, then the first anniversary. As years passed, hope didn't disappear. It decayed. The case that wouldn't die for most of the 2000s, Donna Marsh's case, was what investigators call open and inactive, meaning no one closed it, but no one was actively working it either. The detective who'd kept her file on his desk, a man named Earl Pruitt, retired in 2011. He told his wife he thought about Donna Marsh's children almost every day. The case might have stayed quietly frozen, except that in 2018, a true crime podcast dedicated a 2-part episode to Donna's disappearance. 40,000 listeners became 300,000. And the internet did what it does. It asked questions professionals, for one reason or another, never asked out loud. Listeners noticed several things. Donna Marsh's personal bank account had never been touched after she disappeared. Not unusual if something happened to her, but also not inconsistent with a woman who walked away and started over without her old identity. The neighbor who'd placed Ray away from the house that morning had quietly changed his account in a follow-up interview. Said he might have been confused about the day, when that recantation was never flagged in any public coverage. And Donna's closest friend from high school, someone interviewed by police in the early days, had moved out of state within a year of the disappearance and had never spoken about the case again. Not to media, not to podcasters, not to anyone. Her silence was read by many listeners as suspicious. I want to be honest, it might not have been, but it raised a question that kept circling back. What if we'd been asking the wrong question this whole time? What if this wasn't a case about what someone did to Donna Marsh? What if it was a case about what Donna Marsh did for herself? The tip. In the fall of last year, the Henderson County Sheriff's Department received a tip. The tip came through a non-emergency line. It was brief, it was specific, and it was credible enough that the detective who took the call flagged it immediately. And it took 2 weeks to follow up. Not because investigators weren't taking it seriously, but because verifying a tip like this one required coordination across state lines. The tip suggested Donna Marsh wasn't dead. The detective who made the follow-up call, I'll call her Detective Reyes, had done dozens of these calls over her career. Tips about missing persons turning up alive. They almost never panned out. She dialed the number with low expectations. It rang once, twice. A woman answered. Detective Reyes asked, using the name from the case file, if she was speaking with Donna Marsh. There was a silence on the line. Not a confused silence, not a surprised silence. The kind of silence that comes from someone who has been waiting for a very long time for a phone call they always knew might come. And then the woman said yes. Alive, but gone. I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to narrate this section because the facts on the surface are simple. Donna Marsh was alive. She was safe. She had been living under a different name in another state for 24 years. She had built a life. She had a job. She had people who knew her, not as Donna Marsh, but as whoever she had become. She had not been abducted. She had not been harmed. She had chosen to leave. And I keep coming back to her children. Marcus, who is now 33 years old, who learned his mother was alive via a phone call from his aunt when he did not speak to Donna directly. As of the time I'm recording this, he has not. Derek, 31, who has reportedly said he has no interest in contact, and Claire, who was 3 years old when her mother walked out the door in a red fleece jacket and white sneakers. Claire, who never really knew her. Claire, who grew up with a grief that had no body to bury and no story to close. I keep thinking about what it means to grieve someone who is alive, when what it means to spend your childhood mourning a loss that turns out to have been a decision. The immediate instinct, and I felt it too, is anger at Donna for leaving, for the children especially. But then I have to stop because I don't know what Donna Marsh's life was like inside that house. I don't know what she was carrying. I don't know what she felt she was escaping, or whether escape felt like the only door left open to her. I'm not excusing her. I want to be clear about that. I'm saying I don't know enough to condemn her, and neither do you. What I do know is this: Donna Marsh did not commit a crime, as far as investigators have determined. In most jurisdictions, an adult has the legal right to walk away from their life. There is no law against disappearing. The children she left behind have no legal recourse. Ray Marsh, who spent years under the shadow of public suspicion, who was never charged, who raised 3 children largely alone, has no recourse either. Where the question I can't answer is whether legal and moral are the same thing here. Is leaving a form of violence when you leave behind people who will grieve you as if you're dead? Can abandonment be a crime when there is no body, no courtroom, no verdict? Who gets closure? The person who chose to disappear, or the ones who had no choice at all? I don't know. Donna Marsh, through her attorney, has declined all requests for comment. She has asked for privacy. She has said she is aware of the impact her disappearance had on her family. That is all she has said. The unsolved ending. There was no arrest, no courtroom, no sentencing, no press conference with an answer, no funeral, because she didn't die. There's no grave to visit, no ceremony that means anything now, no goodbye. There was never a goodbye. Just a Tuesday morning and a red fleece jacket and 3 children eating breakfast and a door that closed. Cheryl Pruitt, the detective who kept the file on his desk for 20 years, was reached by a reporter after the news broke. He's in his 70s now. When the reporter told him Donna Marsh had been found alive, he didn't say anything for a long moment. Then he said, "I always thought she was out there." The reporter asked how he felt. He said he wasn't sure yet. I think that's the most honest thing anyone has said about this case. And we come to stories like this one looking for resolution. We want a villain, a victim, a verdict. We want the map to have an X. Donna Marsh's case has none of those things. What it has is a choice we can look at from 100 different angles and still not fully understand. A choice that saved 1 life and quietly shattered 3 others. A choice that is, depending on who you ask, an act of desperation or an act of selfishness, or both, or neither. Some mysteries end with answers. This one ends with a choice. And I keep coming back to Claire, the little girl who asked for her mother every night at bedtime, who grew up and became a woman, who found out at some point last month that her mother was alive. I don't know what Claire did with that information. I don't know if she reached out. I don't know if she wanted to. I don't know if knowing is better than not knowing. I hope she's okay. I hope all of them are. And sometimes when the most terrifying truth is that no crime ever occurred.